There comes a moment in history when the mightiest of warriors can crumble, not from the clash of weapons, but from the weight of their own hearts. The Bhagavad Gita begins not with wisdom but with confusion, a mighty warrior's heart breaking at the sight of his own family. We often mistake attachment for compassion, but are they really the same? In chapter 1, verses 25 to 29, we witness the extraordinary moment when Arjuna, the greatest archer, drops his bow. Was Arjuna really being compassionate when he refused to fight? Or was he caught in the web of his own attachments? The truth behind Arjuna's weakness might surprise you. It wasn't about violence at all, but something much deeper. Today, we'll decode one of the most misunderstood moments in spiritual history, when a warrior's heart melted at the sight of his enemies. Come, join me on this journey of understanding the eternal wisdom of the Gita. Welcome, seekers of wisdom, to Atman Awakening. Today, we dive deep into chapter 1, verses 25 to 29 of the Bhagavad Gita. Let's explore about Arjuna's dilemma. Is it driven by compassion or attachment? For those eager to absorb more, feel free to increase playback speed to 1.5x. In the previous video, we explored the powerful moment when Arjuna, standing on the brink of the greatest battle of his life, asked Krishna to place their chariot in the middle of the battlefield between the two mighty armies. He wanted to see with his own eyes those who had sided with the Kauravas. This request was not just a simple command. It was the beginning of Arjuna's inner struggle, which would lead to the divine teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Today we continue to unravel this sacred dialogue and the lessons it holds for all of us. As Arjuna stood there, surrounded by his kin, teachers and old friends, Krishna addressed him with a calm yet profound statement. O Parth, behold these Kurus gathered here. The use of the name Parth was intentional. Parth refers to Arjuna as the son of Pritha, another name for his mother, Kunti. By calling him Parth, Krishna subtly reminded Arjuna of his lineage, his roots. At the same time, by referring to the warriors as Kurus, Krishna emphasized that both the Pandavas and the Kauravas belonged to the same family, the descendants of the great king Kuru. It was as if Krishna was gently hinting at the deeper conflict Arjuna was about to face. Not just a physical battle, but a battle within himself, one that involved his own blood and heritage. This was no ordinary situation for Arjuna. It wasn't just about fighting an enemy, it was about fighting his own relatives. The weight of this realization began to grow heavier in his heart. Krishna, with his infinite wisdom, was deliberately sowing the seeds of doubt in Arjuna's mind. This doubt wasn't meant to weaken him, but to open his heart and mind to the profound teachings that were to come. Krishna knew that Arjuna, in this state of confusion and despair, was ready to receive the wisdom of the Gita, teachings that would not only guide him but also generations of people, especially in the age of Kali Yuga. As Arjuna gazed across the battlefield, he saw a sea of familiar faces. His fathers, grandfathers, teachers, uncles, brothers, cousins, sons, nephews and dear friends, all ready to engage in battle. Overwhelmed with sorrow and compassion, he turned to Krishna and said, O Krishna, seeing my own kinsmen prepare to kill each other, my body is failing me. My limbs are weak, my mouth is dry, my whole body trembles, and my hair stands on end. Just moments ago, Arjuna had been filled with righteous anger, determined to punish the Kauravas for their treachery. But now, seeing the reality before him, his courage began to falter. The brave warrior who had come to fight for justice now found himself trapped in a whirlpool of emotions. The realization that the people he was about to fight were his own family caused his heart to waver, filling him with confusion and fear. This change in Arjuna's emotions was exactly what Sri Krishna had anticipated. By addressing the warriors as Kurus, Krishna made Arjuna confront the reality of the war. Not just a battle of right versus wrong, but a war within his own family. Arjuna's mind was flooded with the devastating consequences this war would bring, not only for his enemies but for his own loved ones. Sanjay, the narrator of this tale, referred to Arjuna as Kaunteya, the son of Kunti. This was not just a casual reference, but a reminder of Arjuna's soft hearted nature, inherited from his mother. It emphasized that beneath the mighty warrior was a sensitive and compassionate heart. This emotional conflict clouded his judgment, and questions began to rise in his mind, shaking the foundation of his resolve. Arjuna's dilemma was deeply rooted in his attachment to his family. He was focused on the bonds of the physical world, forgetting the eternal truth that he was not just a body, but a soul, unchanging and immortal, beyond life and death. His love for his family, tied to the physical realm, caused him to feel fear and regret at the thought of performing his duty as a warrior. In our everyday lives, we too often identify ourselves solely with our bodies and form emotional attachments based on this physical identification. These attachments, born out of ignorance, bring with them grief and the inevitable sorrow of loss. As long as we see ourselves as bodies, we are bound to experience suffering. However, our true essence lies beyond the body. We are eternal souls, connected to the Supreme Lord, who is the only permanent relationship we have. He is our true father, mother, friend, master, and beloved. But we forget this divine truth because of our entanglement in the material world. Arjuna, in this moment of vulnerability, was standing at the threshold of understanding this higher truth. His confusion and fear paved the way for one of the most profound dialogues ever spoken, the Bhagavad Gita. The conversation that was about to unfold would not only transform Arjuna's life, but also serve as timeless guidance for all of humanity, teaching us the deeper spiritual truths that transcend the material world. As we reflect on Arjuna's situation, we must dive deeper into the spiritual dimensions of the verses. They unfold layers of wisdom that go beyond just the physical battle and touch upon the eternal conflict between attachment and duty, between ignorance and spiritual knowledge. Atman Awakening. Understanding Arjuna's dilemma, compassion or attachment. Arjuna, standing in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, gazed upon the armies and his heart sank as he saw his loved ones, his teachers, cousins, friends, ready to engage in battle. Overwhelmed with compassion, he turned to Lord Krishna and said, "O Krishna, seeing my dear ones prepare to fight, my body feels weak, my mouth has gone dry, my limbs are shaking, and I am trembling with fear and sorrow." It wasn't the war itself that troubled Arjuna. After all, he was a warrior by nature, someone who had spent his entire life in the pursuit of battle and victory. War and violence were not new to him. He had faced countless enemies without hesitation. But this time, the situation was different. The real reason for Arjuna's inner turmoil was not his sudden aversion to violence. It was his deep attachment to the people standing on both sides of the battlefield. The closer one is to violence, the more deeply rooted their emotions can be. Arjuna's mind was torn between his duty as a warrior and his love for those he had to fight. His distress came from the thought of killing his own family members, the people he held dear, the ones he called mine. This attachment, this sense of ownership over his kin, made the idea of harming them unbearable for him. Arjuna's dilemma wasn't born out of a newfound belief in non-violence. It was his attachment, his love, that had shaken him. The very thought of lifting his bow against people he loved filled him with sorrow. This emotional conflict between his sense of duty and his heart's affection created a storm within him, making him question the meaning of the battle, the victory, and the life that lay ahead. This is where the real conflict begins. The very idea of mine creates a divide. When we call someone our friend, we automatically create enemies in the process. By drawing boundaries of who belongs to us, we also decide who doesn't. This division is the seed from which all violence grows. A mind that is truly at peace transcends the notion of mine, dissolving all boundaries of attachment and opposition. Arjuna's trembling and weakness did not come from a sudden detachment from war. His warrior spirit had always embraced violence, but in that moment, his mind was gripped by attachment. He found himself torn between his duty as a warrior and his deep compassion for the people he loved. His heart, conditioned for battle, was now overcome by love and compassion for those standing on the battlefield. This conflict within him made him feel helpless and uncertain. Arjuna's dilemma wasn't born from a newfound belief in nonviolence, but from his deep attachment to his family and teachers. Many misunderstand this point, thinking that Arjuna was suddenly embracing peace and that Krishna was pushing him back into war. However, Krishna would never urge a peaceful person into conflict. The truth is, Arjuna's mind was never free from violence. It was entangled in its roots. Without understanding this, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita would be difficult to grasp. When Arjuna looked around and saw his own relatives, fathers, brothers, and teachers on both sides of the battlefield, the thought of killing them shattered him. If these were strangers, he could have fought without a second thought. But the realization that he would have to slay those he loved revealed the real struggle inside him. His attachment to his family was the true conflict, not the battle itself. This sense of ownership, the belief that these people were his, created boundaries dividing the world into us and them. And this division is the source of all violence. In moments of crisis, the deepest layers of our mind come to the surface. In normal times, we live on the outside, unaware of these hidden depths. But when we are placed in extraordinary situations, what is buried deep within begins to emerge. Arjuna's sudden weakness and trembling were not signs of fear of violence with itself. They were a result of his fear of losing those he called his own. Arjuna didn't cry out against the futility of war or violence in general. Instead, his pain was personal. It was about his own people being involved in the battle. For someone whose entire life has revolved around his loved ones, the thought of destroying them makes the body and mind revolt. It was this deep attachment that paralyzed Arjuna, and it was this attachment that Krishna aimed to free him from. This was the very foundation of the Bhagavad Gita. Without this crisis, without Arjun facing the weight of his own attachments, the Gita would never have been spoken. We see this in everyday life as well. When someone in the neighborhood dies, we may say, "Poor fellow, he passed away," and move on because it doesn't touch us directly. But when death comes to our own family, the pain is unbearable. It feels like a part of us dies along with that person. We have invested a part of ourselves in our loved ones. They fill a corner of our mind and heart. When they leave, they take that piece of us with them. This is why, when a wife dies, the husband loses a part of himself, for he existed as a husband only in relation to her. Similarly, a mother becomes a mother when her child is born, and if the child dies, a part of the mother dies too. This is the nature of attachment. Our sense of identity, our very I, is deeply tied to the lives of those we call mine. When Arjuna saw his family, friends, and teachers on both sides of the battlefield, it felt as though he was staring at his own destruction. It wasn't just the thought of death or the violence of war that shook him to his core. It was the fear of losing those who defined him. He realized that if his loved ones died, he would lose everything that gave meaning to his existence. His very sense of self, connected to his father, brothers, teachers, and friends, would be shattered beyond repair. Surprisingly, this connection isn't just limited to our loved ones. Even those we consider outsiders, like our enemies, play a role in shaping who we are. When an enemy dies, it affects us in unexpected ways because they were part of the identity we created for ourselves. They might have been our opponents, but they were still our opponents. Their absence leaves us feeling incomplete, as though a piece of our identity has vanished. Arjuna's despair on the battlefield wasn't just about the fear of fighting or death. It was a deeper fear, the fear of losing himself entirely. The thought of witnessing the death of his loved ones made him question his own existence. Who would he be without them? What purpose would victory hold if those he fought for were no longer there? Arjuna realized that even if he gained the entire world, it would be meaningless if his loved ones were not there to share it with him. This is something we can all relate to. Much of what we gather in life, whether it's wealth, power, or success, is often for the people we care about. The house we build is not just for ourselves, but for those who will live in it, for the ones who will appreciate its beauty, and even for those who might envy it. It's the presence of others that gives meaning to what we have. Imagine having the most magnificent palace in the world, but no loved ones, no friends, not even rivals to see it. In that situation, the palace would feel hollow, like it had lost its value. After all, the palace wasn't just a place to live, it was a way to showcase success, to impress others. Without anyone to witness it, its grandeur becomes insignificant, just an empty structure. Even the clothes we wear are often less about covering our body and more about capturing the attention of others. When we are alone, everything, even the simplest things, loses its meaning. The thrones we aspire to ascend are not for the joy of sitting on them, because no one truly finds joy just by sitting on a throne. We seek the throne for the sense of power it gives us in the eyes of others. But if everyone were to disappear, the throne would lose all its significance, and we would step down, probably never to return. It was at this moment that Arjuna truly realized the depth of his inner conflict. He saw that on both sides of the battlefield, his loved ones stood ready to die. The thought of their deaths, even in the face of victory, crushed his spirit. What would victory mean without them? Victory is not an end in itself. It's the satisfaction it brings to our ego, the admiration it earns from our loved ones, and the acknowledgement from outsiders. But if there were no one left to witness it, gaining an empire would feel empty and meaningless. Arjuna's profound sadness must be seen in this light. His grief wasn't because he had suddenly turned non-violent. His sadness came from his deep attachment to the people he held dear. This attachment clouded his mind, binding him in sorrow and confusion. It was this attachment that Krishna sought to address. Krishna had to challenge Arjuna's perspective, pushing him to see beyond his attachments and his narrow understanding of the self. If someone like Mahavira, who was free from attachment, had stood in Arjuna's place, the entire situation would have been different. There would have been no need for Krishna to say anything. Mahavira, being detached, would not have been shaken by the thought of killing or being killed. The conversation would have ended before it even began. But Arjuna, bound by attachment, needed Krishna's wisdom to help him see the larger picture beyond the fleeting relationships that defined his current turmoil. Bhagavad Gita wasn't something Krishna simply spoke. It was brought out by Arjuna's internal conflict. Arjuna's own struggle created the entire conversation. Krishna could see that Arjuna, who had always been a warrior, was now confronting his violent nature. But even Arjuna's desire to escape the war came from that same violent mindset. His struggle wasn't about becoming peaceful, it was about avoiding the consequences of his own violence. The important truth here is that attachment is a hidden form of violence. When we say this person is mine, we begin to possess them, and possession leads to conflict. When a husband says to his wife, "You are mine," or a wife claims her husband, they turn each other into objects. Just like a house or a chair becomes mine, so does a person. And where possession exists, love cannot grow. It only creates conflict, tension, and even hatred. This is why relationships, whether in the family or elsewhere, often end up in conflict. When we view someone as ours, we create ownership, and with ownership comes the potential for violence. This sense of mine destroys the true essence of love and turns relationships into power struggles. Arjuna was caught in this web of attachment. He wasn't becoming non-violent as some might think. If he had, Krishna would have sent him away with blessings of peace. But Krishna saw that Arjuna's talk of non-violence was false because he was still speaking from a place of I and mine. True non-violence cannot come from someone who is still trapped in the idea of possession. The seed of I can never grow into the tree of non-violence. Ultimately, this profound inner conflict set the stage for the timeless teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna was not just guiding Arjun, but through him, he was speaking to all of humanity. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Gita. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Your support inspires us to bring you more insights into these timeless teachings. Stay tuned for more epic narrations and be blessed.